Hello, this is Andrea Samadi with Stress Learning in the Brain. I've logged on the webinar a couple minutes ahead of the hour. If anyone is online now, I would love to hear who's on. If you could type in the chat your name and where you're from, I'd love to see who will be joining us today. Again, this is Andrea Samadi. The webinar will start in just a couple of minutes. I wanted to log in ahead of time to say hello and see who is online. Type in the chat if you do log in. This is Andrea Samadi with Stress Learning in the Brain. Logged in just a couple of minutes ahead of time to say hello before we get started. The webinar will begin in just a couple of minutes, 1 minute. I like to be on time. Type in the chat if you come on and let me know who you are and where you're from. This is Andrea Samadi. We will get started in just a minute. Stress learning and the brain. It's an exciting topic. I look forward to beginning. As you log in, let me know who you are and where you are from. As you log in to Stress Learning in the Brain, just let me know who's here. And we will begin in just a minute. Wonderful. Welcome, Judy. Thank you for being here. I'm going to get started with sharing my screen. We'll get started right into the content. Welcome. As you log online, just type who you are, where you're from, so I have an idea of who's here. I did recognize some names on the registration list and some exciting people from back home from Toronto, and it's fun to see people from my hometown. You see me here in Chandler, Arizona. This is my home office in the US. So I'm going to get started with the presentation. And you should be able to see the PowerPoint on the screen. So welcome to Stress Learning in the Brain. This is Andrea Samadi here, and I help parents, teachers, and coaches to optimize learning using the most current brain research, cognitive psychology, and growth mindset. Thanks, Judy. So nice to have you here. Type in the chat as you log in. I'd love to see who's here. My life changed dramatically back in the late 90s when I was given a book that showed me that I had more potential than I was using. And this is really where it all started. You're in the right place if you're a school administrator, teacher, parent, or coach, and you've been looking for solutions to reduce stress in the classroom or at home. You're also someone that's interested in the neuroscience stress connection. So I did a poll before the webinar, and I asked the group to let me know some things that they wanted to learn from this webinar. So it does help me a lot to make sure that I'm covering what you want and need to learn. So I just put this webinar out on LinkedIn, and 70 people visited the webinar page, 15 registered, 4 were school administrators, 7 were teachers, and 6 were parents. A teacher said that she wanted to learn more about growth mindset, so we're covering that. Another teacher wanted to expand her knowledge and skills, and definitely as we want to model to our students and our children to be lifelong learners. We had another parent talk about how she would like to learn how strategies for her children ages 12, 11, and 9 with study habits and ways to reduce stress for test taking. And I do have a proven neuroscience technique for reducing stress before taking tests, so I'll share that with you. An administrator wanted some ideas to bridge research with practical application, and we do that. I will definitely show you a place at the end of the webinar where we have created online lessons that take these strategies and put them into practice for students in the classroom or at home. We had another parent who said she wants to learn anything to help her kids to remain interested and involved in school. And absolutely, we do have strategies. As myself as a parent, I'm always looking for new ideas to motivate my own children to learn. And then we had a school administrator who would like to further explore Achieve It 360 in our programs for school-wide adoption. And we definitely do provide training for educators and the program for the classroom. We do also have home study access for people that would like to use this in the home. So just a background snapshot. I call it the evolution of social emotional learning. And this is just a snapshot of where it all started. So back in the late 90s, I had a chance meeting with a neighbor who introduced me to a well-known motivational speaker. My neighbor was the director of sales for this speaker, and it was him he gave me the book that I read, and it taught me that I wasn't using the potential that I had. So this speaker went on to work with 12 teenagers, and he took these teens and he was actually challenged to teach these young people the concepts he was teaching adults in his seminars. And he taught them these concepts with incredible results. It actually blew me away as an educator because he was not an educator. And yet he was getting results that I could never have dreamed of. And he was just teaching them the concepts that he was teaching adults, like how to have a winning attitude, how to set goals, how to use your mind, which now mind and brain are the same concepts, how to have confidence with your goals, responsibility, self-motivation. All of these back in the late 90s were called soft skills. Now, fast forward to 2017, we have proven evidence that social emotional learning included in the classroom definitely can improve achievement with academics as well as the student's personal life. So it's really come full circle. Back in the late 90s, I was connected with the Covey organization, and they did try to go into the schools with their 7 habits of highly effective teens, but it just wasn't gelling. It wasn't the right time. So sometimes ideas take a while to catch on. So just a bit of background. Again, I'm a former teacher from Toronto, and my life changed dramatically when I saw these concepts working with students. And I went after my dreams in early 2001. The speaker asked me, Andrea, what do you want to do? What do you really want? And it was very clear. I knew what I wanted. I just didn't know how. I wanted to move from Toronto to Arizona, where I had visited a few times, and I just loved the fact you could exercise year-round, and I loved the fact that my creativity just seemed in a different place. So it really took 3 years for me to achieve that goal, and I arrived right before September 11th happened. And what was interesting was when that happened and the US was turned upside down, I actually picked up The Secret for Teens Revealed and got my own life back on track. When you can teach something to someone else, it's a different story, but applying it in your own life, takes it to a completely new level. So when I started to see results in my own life, that's when I knew I had a hold of something that was pretty powerful. So I ended up working with Pearson Education. I was sales for the ELL division and had a wonderful opportunity at that point to see how curriculum was created for the schools. I got to meet with people like Grant Wiggins, who created the backward design of curriculum where he taught students to have the end in mind. And so I put all of these ideas into the curriculum that I was writing with the vision that one day it would go into the classroom. So working with Pearson had some incredible benefits as I went through my own process of setting goals. In 2014, I presented the program I'd created and put online to Arizona Department of Education and was chosen as a preferred vendor for character and leadership. In 2015, we were working with Arizona educators in the schools, and we were urged to add brain-based content to our programs and growth mindset. So that's really where it all started. And then in 2016, I officially partnered with Mark Robert Waldman. He was at the time working with John Asraf that I was being privately coached by. And Waldman had asked me if there was anything that he could do to help me with his research. And he definitely could, because as administrators told me, Andrea, you need brain-based content in your programs. I didn't know where to go. Here's Jeff Kleck on the left side. He's an Arizona administrator who was the first one to give me some constructive feedback that really changed the way that I had presented my programs. And he introduced me to D'Souza's How the Brain Learns. And then I went on to research people like John Medina, who wrote Brain Rules. And I had to figure out how I could teach this material on the brain. And Mark Robert Waldman was the person that helped me to make that transition. He worked with me on Skype calls to really understand it enough that I could teach it. And here's where we are today. So we're going to talk about neuroscience and why it's important to understand it in the classroom, strategies to reduce stress, and we're going to use the social emotional learning attributes: mindset, self-awareness, social awareness, and self-regulated learning. So the problem is how stress affects the brain and learning, and the solution is how to use neuroscience and SEL to optimize learning and reduce stress. At the end, I'll also show you some teacher tools, which are the Level Up online program. So here we've got the problem, and it's stress. Students are either bored in the classroom, the work is too easy, or they were frustrated, it was too difficult. This was feedback that I was hearing from educators, and this was adding more work and stress to educators. So I went to Mark Robert Waldman with this problem, and I did some research as well. I saw Judy Willis, a neurologist turned teacher. Like many others I'd studied, John Medina, Dan Siegel, and Waldman, they all spoke of the devastating effects of stress on learning in the brain. It's John Medina's Rule 8 in his book, Brain Rules. Stress brains don't learn the same way. And we added this fact into our Level Up book with Waldman's coaching. Too much stress disrupts every neural activity in the brain. So what does this mean for our students and learning? What solutions could there be to solve this problem? I went to Mark Waldman for some answers. And he shared with me the solution using basic neuroscience. And he said, this can help you as a parent. It can help teachers, administrators, and coaches to see what happens to the brain under stress and why stress must be reduced to improve learning. We know from fMRI scans, and that's an fMRI scan right here, that frequent boredom and frequent frustration is stressful for the brain. There is a switching station called the amygdala, and when information comes into the brain, the switching station determines where the information goes based on how stressed the brain is. So under low stress, the information goes where it's supposed to go for learning. It goes where the executive functions take place, like memory, planning, organizing. It's the reflective part of the brain. Keeping materials organized, showing up for class on time, all the things that we need for students to be successful. But under high stress, the information goes to the reactive part of the brain that's designed to automatically go into fight, flight, freeze mode. The limbic system in humans is designed to automatically go the same way as animals and fight, flight, and freeze. So how does this translate into the classroom? With fighting, which is acting out, flight, when students get up and walk around, or freeze, they space out, not paying attention, and the result is that they fall behind. So I could actually see this happening with my own two children, and I was unknowingly putting their brains in stress mode after we'd done all their homework and we were all ready to go to school. I was rushing them out the door saying, hurry up, let's go, let's get in the car. And then I saw their eyes bulging out. As I started to study this material, I had no idea that I was actually putting my own children's brains in stress mode before they were on their way to school. But thank goodness that Dr. Daniel Siegel speaks about the fact we can quickly repair these mishaps and try something differently. So instead of stressing my kids out, I now have a song that's fun that I think my mom used to sing to me, and she definitely didn't study the brain. And it's called Hurry, Hurry, Rush, Rush, because if I didn't somehow get them to hurry up in a fun way, we'd never get out the door, but I don't want to stress out their brains. So the problem was clear. Stress affects the brain. So I asked Mark Waldman, well, what's the solution for this then? And he shared with me the solution. He said that he was actually releasing a book on this topic, and it was to come out in January 2017. And I was talking to him the summer before, and he actually shared with me the research for this book. He gave it to me ahead of time. And he said, if you can see any connection between my research and a way to help the educational field, you can go ahead and use this research in your own programs. And I saw how his research directly correlated to the social emotional competencies that you see on the screen here. CASEL.org lists them like self-awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, self-management. And I've added mindset to my image here because it's been crucial to the work I did the past 15 years before, and as well as Carol Dweck is making a case for growth mindset as it relates to ability. So I'm going to ask you a poll question. I'm going to come back on. I'm going to turn my screen share off. And I'm going to put a poll question up. And let's get my poll question. So my poll question is, would you be able to teach someone about stress, learning, and the brain? Because if you could teach this to somebody else, you've got it. Is it possible for you after I've just gone over this material, and perhaps if I was to send you the slides afterwards, could you tell someone else, another stakeholder, let's say another educator, another student, another colleague, how stress affects learning in the brain? Let me know if you can see your poll. You might have to actually go, okay, I do see yes, excellent. So we know we're on track. I'm going to go right back to my screen share. On here. So let's go into the strategies. So now what we've done is we've connected Waldman's research to the social emotional learning strategies. And the first one is growth mindset. So just a review of what it is. Growth mindset really came to light with Stanford University psychologist Carol Dweck and her idea that mindset and ability are connected. So on this diagram here, you can see that I've listed fixed mindset and growth mindset. She describes for some people, success and failure is based on innate ability or lack of this ability. She describes this as a fixed theory of intelligence and argues it gives rise to a fixed mindset. At the other end of the spectrum are those people who believe success is based on growth mindset. The individuals argue that success is based on learning, persistence, effort, and hard work. So we obviously want our students to be in growth mindset, and we want ourselves to stay in growth mindset. In a fixed mindset, students believe their abilities, their intelligence, their talents are just fixed traits. They have a certain amount and that's it. And their goal becomes to look smart all the time. In a growth mindset, students understand their talents and abilities can be developed through effort, good teaching, and persistence. They don't necessarily think everyone's the same or everyone can be Einstein, but they believe everyone can get smarter if they work at it. So what about our own mindset? So we obviously want our students and our children to have growth mindset, But our own mindset, how does this come into play as a parent or a teacher? How can we strengthen our own growth mindsets? Because we know that when a challenge comes up, it is actually really challenging sometimes to stay in growth mindset. It's just the way it works. So most of us are not perfect. We don't live with growth mindset all the time. And even the best of us can get knocked off course with an obstacle. So I'll give you an example. This webinar platform that I'm using, about a month ago, I got an email saying it's going to be changed. The way the delivery is, you can no longer use it as it is. You must set it up a new way using an encoder. And all these words that I had no idea what they were talking about. What's an encoder? I had no idea how to set it up. I could have either gone into fixed mindset, I can't do this, which I did for a while. I just looked at it, didn't know what to do, and thought, oh, I'll get to it later. And unfortunately, when we don't roll up our sleeves and try to put in the effort, we're not going to learn something new. So I one day sat down and tried to figure it out. And what's amazing is on YouTube, you can learn anything. You just Google or look up in the search bar, whatever you need to know, and you can somehow find someone who's done it. And that's what I did. I found someone who set the system up and talks so easily about the encoder that I was afraid of. And everything is running and it's working and it's fine now, and I got through it. So here's some tips to strengthen your own mindset. The first tip is to practice growth mindset, to know yourself, how it shows up in your own life. Use some affirmations. Things like, I'm so thankful, with hard work and persistence, I will find a solution to my problem. So sometimes when you're stuck, you could remain stuck, but you can also find ways to get out of being stuck. And I'm usually stuck somewhere in some area of my life all the time. I just have to keep looking for new solutions. Have a fixed mindset plan of attack. So notice when you go to fixed mindset. I notice for me, it's when I start blaming other people or wasting my emotions and not taking responsibility. So when I go there in my head, I think, wow, I'm in the wrong mindset. So I've got to switch out of it. Find a mentor. So someone has been where you want to go. And I found the mentor on YouTube just by searching for what I needed to learn. And then challenge your paradigms and beliefs. So sometimes when you challenge your beliefs, it'll be uncomfortable. You'll have to do some things a different way, but you can either move forward into growth or stay in fixed mindset. So I could have said, oh, the system changed. The new system is no good. I want to buy a new system that works the old way because, you know, the new system, I have no idea what this encoder is. But then I wouldn't have been in growth mindset. I wouldn't have overcome the obstacle. So there's some really powerful tips there on how to strengthen your own growth mindset. Let's go on to self-awareness. Here's another stress-reducing strategy. So self-awareness is the process to own one's own feelings, own your feelings, your thoughts, and learn how to express them to others. So when we wake up, the oldest part of our brain begins to drive us towards our goals that have rewards attached to them. Our routines are formed over time and are created out of habit. We can set ourselves up for a day of success with some careful planning, or failure if we leave our lives up to chance. Research shows if you remain in bed for a few extra seconds to become aware of your body and mental state, your brain will function much better for the rest of that day. You'll be able to do more with less stress. We recommend that you create a morning ritual and to be more mindful about your day. Here's some tips, and this is all based on Mark Waldman's strategies. So wake up, stretch, and focus on how you feel. If you can focus on the positive and pleasurable parts of your day, it will help your brain move towards taking action throughout the day rather than focusing on your worries. Work on starting the day with a positive mindset. Visualize your day and overcoming any obstacles you might face. This technique has been proven to increase your physical and mental energy to help you reach your goals with efficiency and ease. Fourth is to yawn. This is the fastest way to lower mental stress. The Library of Congress has documentation that yawning was an exercise used by elementary school teachers in the 1890s, and there is evidence that yawning before a test can improve your grade point average in school. For the parent that wanted some stress reducing techniques for taking a test, this is what I would suggest. Actually going to turn off the poll. How to train your brain to increase social awareness. So our former education secretary, John King, released a statement that I saw headlined in ASCD Smart Brief News, where he said, as an educator, part of our role is to help students see the world through others' eyes. There is a way to train your brain to increase social awareness and create substantial neural changes in your social brain. This practice will cause you to change your behavior and in turn will cause others to trust and respect you more. So how do you train your brain to increase social awareness? You can practice observing others mindfully to learn how to become more empathetic. So let's just say that you have a situation where you have to repair a relationship between two people. So you're going to meet with someone and you want the outcome to become a certain way. Here's some steps that you can take to have the outcome that you want by mindfully preparing ahead of time. Step 1, prepare yourself to engage in the present moment. Yawn, stretch, and release any negative thoughts and feelings that might be on your mind. Step 2, think of a word that resonates with the outcome that you want to have. Things like successful, harmonious, peace, kindness, or teamwork. Next, think of a happy memory that puts you in a good mood. This memory will make you smile when others see you and people will be more trusting of you. Step 4, visualize the interaction with a positive outcome. When you intentionally follow through with a plan to be more socially aware, you'll be amazed at the results. It does take practice, but even a few minutes a day can help you yield outstanding results with how others perceive you. So you could use this if you wanted to repair a relationship. It would be the work that you would do ahead of time to ensure that the outcome happens the way that you would like. Another empathy activity you could try, take out a piece of paper and write down a list of 10 people you would like to improve your relationships with by being more socially mindful of them. For a student, they could do this. It could be a teacher, someone, or a friend, someone that they would like to improve that relationship with. Each day, spend 5 minutes with this mindfulness activity when you interact with them. Go through each of the 4 steps and just see what happens. After each interaction, take a moment to reflect on what occurred. Did you feel more kindness, empathy, and understanding towards this person? How did the other person react towards you? What's interesting is you won't need to tell anyone you're doing this. The other person will notice something and they might even comment, wow, you're so peaceful or so relaxed. What's happening is that they're neurologically more attracted to you. This is called neural resonance. The last example that I wanted to share was with self-regulated learning. And here you can see on the diagram here that I co-created this with Mark Waldman. So we can really learn anything. With the right study habits, with a positive growth mindset, magic happens. So neuroscience and motivation, how do we encourage students to be motivated to learn? Researchers have discovered that the expectation of a future reward will stimulate motivation in the present moment. The strong belief that one's efforts will be rewarded stimulates growth of very powerful neural circuits. And as one grows older, this is what stimulates students to work harder on long-term goals that would lead to more satisfying jobs or a better life. So I've always wondered what causes one student to choose to study on a Friday night and stay home and delay the gratification of going out just for the results. I think some students do this naturally. Other students might need some assistance with a reward. I know that one of my daughters would stay home and study, and the other one might need some assistance of me giving them some sort of reward or motivation for delaying gratification. So this is a very famous experiment. It's the marshmallow experiment that measures patience versus pleasure. In this experiment, preschool children were placed in a situation where a researcher placed a marshmallow, a cookie, or some sort of treat in front of them. The children were given a choice. They could eat the treat immediately, or they could wait until the researcher returned and they would receive a second treat or reward. Some children immediately eat the marshmallow, and others are able to sit there and calmly wait, knowing that they would be doubly rewarded for their patience. These students were followed over the next few decades, and researchers were able to form some conclusions about this behavior. Those who were able to delay the urge for immediate gratification performed better in school and were more socially competent. Researchers concluded that if you want to be successful in life, you must learn the skill to postpone immediate gratification and persist in goal-directed behavior for the sake of the later outcome. So can patience and self-control be learned? Research says yes, but you must practice mindfulness and work on it. I did try this experiment with my 7-year-old and 5-year-old, and the 7-year-old definitely understood the concept of being doubly rewarded, and she was able to not eat the treat, and the 5-year-old wanted to eat the treat right away. So I think it's definitely worthwhile to teach our children and our students this concept at a young age, especially as the research shows how important it is. Let's just go back to our poll here. I'm going to add another poll. If I were to give you a choice of a marshmallow now or later, which would you choose? Now or later? Let's see if we can choose the one that would yield the most results. Choose now or later. Later. Excellent. Excellent. So let's just go back to our screen. So our brain really is a bridge to our goals and our future. Research is clearly showing the link between our brains and our results. There's your brain, your goals, and your future, and we can train our brains to be optimistic in this ever-changing world. And this slide for our friend Judy was heavily inspired by Dr. Pillay and his presentation from the Brainathon. To overcome our fears, reduce stress in our lives, move and take action when we freeze, you must see the positives in situations, practice growth mindset, figure out our true motivation, and delay gratification, and the possibilities really are endless. We can have whatever we want. The truth is, though, that most people are stuck in the fight, flight, fear, and freeze stage. And without a strategy or a plan to move forward, this is where they're going to stay. So this is really why I created the Level Up online program for the classroom or home study. It's tools that motivate students with character, with social emotional learning, with real world connections to have them overcome their fears and their doubts. There's 3 modules of the program. I'll show you the program live in just a second, but the first part mirrors the Level Up book. Module B has 24 character lessons, and Module C has expert interviews where we've interviewed real world people on how they've overcome their obstacles. So let's log in. I'll just show you what we have here. You log in with your username and password, and I'm going to go to this course here. And you can navigate through the sidebar or through the grid at the bottom here. So I'll just show you from the sidebar. Module A, we start with the students with pinpointing their strengths. So in order for them to know where they're going in their life, it's good for them to know what their strengths are first. With every lesson, there's a quick video, and then there's a PDF worksheet that could be used on a smart board as discussion, or it could be printed out depending on how teacher or parent would like to use that. So the lesson here talks about some famous failures and how it took them a while to get going. And then they do a multiple intelligence theory based on Howard Gardner's concepts. He allowed us to use his theory in our program. And then students figure out where their highly developed areas are, moderately and less, to figure out really where are they going. What are they going to do? Their areas of strength are, and their dreams for their future are, and just see how they correlate. So once you know your strengths, then it's to have a big picture look at your whole entire life. So here's an inventory. So we want to upgrade all these areas to get to the different level, which is the pro level. You always want to improve these areas as we're going through our life. So there's another lesson on the inventory wheel. Upgrade your life in these areas with some questions and activities. And then a checklist and blueprint on what do they need to do for their goals. So how do you set goals? There's the lesson here on figuring out where they're going. Phase 2, we talk about the brain. We go into the importance of a good attitude. We talk about growth mindset. We talk a lesson here on how to use the brain. So everything that I've taught you here, we teach the students how to understand the 3 parts of your brain and how to use your brain, why it's so important. Then we have mind-boggling brain facts. We just have some interesting facts on the brain that you could use either on a smartboard or with your students. The program does work if the students wanted to log online in the lab. Then Mind in Gear, we have lessons on goal setting, and I'll just go through and read them out here. We have confidence, responsibility, overcoming habits and paradigms, self-motivation and values, dodging obstacles, how to handle criticism, how to survive peer pressure because it's not going away, and then what are you going to do with your skills and talents to make an impact on the world. Then we have the 24 character lessons here. And the final part of the program, we have the expert interviews where we interviewed some famous people, some Shark Tank celebrities. We have a very popular one is Ryan Kelly here. Ryan Kelly created dog biscuits and he went on Shark Tank and he did get his dog biscuit idea funded. So that's essentially, in a nutshell, what the program is. I'm going to come back here. We did have some educators that logged in, and someone did purchase the character library. I want to thank them for that. Our program, we do have, it's the normal price is for $1,497 per site. And we do have an offer where we're giving that 50% off, where we we do a PD session, 4 hours of training on stress learning the brain, and then 1 year access to the portal for $748.50 per site. And that's up until June 30th. And this is our stress learning the brain starter packet. And I will load up if you're interested in taking a closer look at that. It'll show up on your screen. And if you would like to just learn more about anything else we have, you can feel free to go to our site, achieveit360.com. I'll come into the chat here. If you want to have a look at our site, is there any questions at all? If there is, please do type it in the chat. And really, the whole idea of this is the best way to predict our future is to create it. So whatever tools and strategies you can use, just continually be learning. I will send you an email sequence after this webinar is completed, and I will provide you with the Level Up books for educator and student as a gift for you for attending the webinar, as well as other tools and strategies that you could use. And throughout those email sequences, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I would love to meet with you. And anyone that would like to learn more, please do contact me. I want to thank you so much for your time. And if there's any questions, I'll have a look. I don't see any questions here, but I just want to thank you again. I'm going to come back on. And I want to thank everyone for attending today and joining me, and looking forward to the pathway to learning more about everyone, as well as continuing the development of learning new programs and services. Thank you so much, Judy. I will definitely be in contact, and you can also send me, we'll chat as well. Again, I'm going to sign off for now, and I will send you more specific information. You'll get a lot more through the email sequences. Have a look at the Level Up book and think about how you could use this within your whatever programs and services you're trying to implement. I'm going to sign off for now, and I look forward to seeing more from everybody. Have a wonderful day.